At this time, candidates from the 320th District, excuse me, District Court race, Mr. Stephen Denny and Judge Sermon, if you'll make your way to.
Do you have an order? Do you have an order?
No, sure don't.
Heights, age.
All right, so we'll start off with Mr. Denny, if you will just give us an introduction.
Yeah, my name is Stephen Denny. I am a criminal defense lawyer here in Amarillo. I've previously worked as a prosecutor for the 47th DA's office, handling all manner of felonies, including the grand jury presentation, trials, pleas, hearings on motions for probation, probably on hundreds, if not thousands of prosecutions. After that, I was able to get a job as a justice advisor for the Department of State in Afghanistan, where I trained Afghan judges, prosecutors, and defense attorneys in applying their laws and how to run their courts and legal system more efficiently. And whenever I got done with that, I came back, opened my defense practice again, and was able to represent citizens accused in Potter County courts. I'm a volunteer in the community, firefighter on several boards. I serve on the Potter County Fire and Sheriff's Employee Benefit Board and several other things as well.
Thank you, Mr. Denny. Judge Sermon?
Yes. Good afternoon. My name is Pamela Sermon. I'm judge of the 320th District Court. I've been judge of that court since January 1st of 2019. Prior to that, I was judge of the Potter County Court at Law No. 2 for 20 years. I'm a native of Amarillo, River Road graduate, second class, out of River Road High School. Went to Texas Tech, got a bachelor's and a master's in agricultural communications. I was the editor of a weekly livestock paper. I moved to A&M and worked for the system down in College Station. I was an agricultural publication editor. Then I went to law school, and now I started out as a prosecutor in the county attorney's office doing criminal and family law, child abuse cases. Went out in private practice doing criminal and family law, and now I'm a judge.
Thank you. Okay, first question now, Mr. Denny, why should voters support you rather than your opponent?
I've got a varied range of experience. As I mentioned before, it's interesting to sit here seeing the candidates for the other offices because I've handled cases with most of them. I've had a divorce case that we handled with Mr. Wilson's office. I've had a criminal defendant in a DWI case that was also being defended civilly by Ms. Johnson's office. I've had officers who were accused of wrongdoing that I defended that were defended as civilly when they were sued as part of their government operation by Mr. Yarbrough's office. Judge Frausto and I have tried several cases together in the last several months, and her husband, who's a prosecutor, he and I have handled many cases together. And so my experience is wide ranging. I've handled civil cases from the plaintiff's side. I've handled defense cases where someone was accused of a serious capital murder or serious aggravated sexual assault. I've handled cases where those same types of people were charged with those crimes and being prosecuted by the state at my hand. And so I've got experience in all those things. In addition to that, I've also handled things like bankruptcies and adoptions and the civil cases that Mr. Wilson referred to, where the government is attempting to forfeit somebody's property. I've done all those things. And more importantly, I've talked to the clients in a private setting about those things and know what their motivations are. I know what their feelings are. I know how they think whenever they're looking at the legal system, not just from the lawyer's perspective, but from the client's perspective. And that brings a unique perspective for me on how to get those people into court and get their cases to move more quickly, but respectfully, so that they feel like they've been treated fairly, and indeed that they have been treated fairly.
Thank you. Chairman, same question to you. Why should voters support you rather than your opponent?
I've been licensed 32 years in the state of Texas and have my federal license as well. I've done the criminal prosecution, as I said, and the child abuse prosecution and the family law. One of the things is and I'll say my staff, we've been highly successful in running the courts that we've been in. The county court at law was extremely efficient, run cleanly, and everything was on a timely manner. My staff is very good with the public and also taking care of their workload. We came back across the street into 320th. The 320th was a little bit behind. It was behind before COVID got here. And so we have worked diligently because we had that knowledge of how to run a court. We got the court up, running, and I would say we're in good shape. Our family law cases are in good shape, our civil cases. Our criminal cases, they're actually in pretty good shape. We know how to push our cases through and get those done. So if you select me again for this court, myself, my same staff will be with me, and we will continue to move the cases as efficiently as we possibly can.
Thank you. Okay, next question. Mr. Denny, what do you think about the growing prison population? What response should society have to prison overcrowding?
Well, that's a great question. We've been dealing with that my entire career, and it wasn't a new problem whenever I got there. You know, if you look at the problem with what do you do with someone who's broken the law and isn't wanting to interact with society in a positive way, there's several ways to deal with them, and the Texas statutes recognize three. It's either you punish them, you rehabilitate them, or you deter them from doing it in the future. Those are the three permissible things for the criminal justice system statutorily. Rehabilitation is typically what you think of whenever you're looking at probation, drug courts, mental health courts, and those sorts of things. And unfortunate that Potter County has been pretty progressive in wanting to include those sorts of specialty courts in their treatment of these criminal offenders. Punishment, however, is just prison. And whenever you send people to prison and you don't have programs there that help them succeed, you're going to have a revolving door. If you don't address their mental health, if you don't address the recidivism, if you don't get them something that pays better than slinging drugs on the corner, you're not ever going to solve that revolving door. Unfortunately, the legislature doesn't like having to pay for that. And me as a taxpayer, I don't either. But there are some great programs at TDC. I've had several clients that went down there. One of them learned how to train service animals and that sort of thing. And because of that, she came out with pride in who she is and not have to rely on the failing support system that she had from before.
Clarification, prison or county jail?
Prison.
Okay, prison itself, because what we as judges in Potter County can do is work with our own county jail. And we work very hard. In the Potter County Jail, I just want you to know, because you as taxpayers pay about $60 a day to house them. And so we regularly, like every 6 months, 3 months, we run a list of everybody that we've got in the Potter County Jail, and we keep dockets running on those. And I will tell you that in April of 2021, we had 18 prisoners that have been in jail for more than 1 year. Today, ran the stats this last week, I have less than 15 that have been in jail for more than 1 year. Of the 20 that were there in April 2021, all have been resolved but 2. They're murders, and they're set, 1 in March and 1 in April. So we watch our county jail because that affects these taxpayers' bottom lines. As far as prison concerned, yes, I think we need programs in those jails. We need programs in the prison system. And that's something, as one of the other candidates said, that's the legislator's job to do that. If you're going to incarcerate them, give them something to come out with. Don't just catalog them. And that is something we do need. People need skills. We need trades. We all know that. If you're trying to get anything done at your homes, we need tradespeople. And if you come out with a job skill, you're much less likely to sling the drugs on the corner.
Thank you. Our next question is from an audience member. Mr. Denny, how do each of you stand on hand-marked, self-authenticated paper ballots?
Hand-marked self. I wasn't expecting that at all. I don't know that I'm allowed to answer that question, honestly, because that's an issue that could become an issue in front of a district court, and neither one of us are allowed to talk about any pending litigation or express opinions about things that might happen. So I'll quit with that.
Good answer, Denny. Because it very well could come to the court. I will say, just for educating of the public, the legislature has changed that in Texas. They've enacted something where we'll have printed ballots. So Potter County is going to have printers on their voting machines by the middle of the summer. It won't happen for the March election. So when you vote a voting machine, it'll print out your ballot. You can look at it and see if what's on that ballot matches what you intended to vote for. If it is, you feed it into a scanner, the scanner will count it, and the paper ballot goes in a box. So the voting machine will count it, the scanner will count it, and the paper ballot's in the box. You got 3 checks and balances on each person's vote. So I think that should make people more comfortable that their vote really is what their vote is, because they will be able to see it in their hand. And so I think that's a good step forward. And other than that, I think Denny's right. We could have this in court. They probably wouldn't put it in my court.
Thank you. Mr. Denny, please describe your firsthand experiences, if any, dealing with people who are different from you socially, economically, or politically.
Oh, good grief. My whole life. I mean, I didn't grow up as a trust fund baby or anything like that. My home that I grew up in was 2805 South Bivens. I went to Caprock, I went to Lawndale, I went to Oakdale, I went to Bowie. I ended up graduating from Tascosa. In doing my daily job as a criminal defense attorney, I pick who I represent. The person comes through the door, either appointed or choosing to hire me, and I deal with them as they come. And that includes every possible different race, gender, political affiliation, and what. And so I take them as they come and respect them as a person, as a human being, and defend them in the system. One of the most challenging things that I ever faced was being uprooted from Amarillo, Texas, and landing in Kabul, Afghanistan. That entire system was actually adverse to me and my belief system. It was illegal to believe what I believe as a Christian in that country. And so I couldn't even share what I was thinking about things. If it involved my religious affiliation, I could be punished and sent to prison for that. And so it was very difficult to transition from that, because my faith is a great deal of my practice and my daily walk. And so adapting to that and dealing with people in a way that didn't violate their laws and didn't violate their entire belief system was definitely an eye-opening experience. But because of that, I've got many friends from Afghanistan, and fortunately a bunch of them were able to get out. They were translators and advisors with me, and a lot of them were able to get out before the country fell. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm still friends with many of them to this day.
Thank you.
I'll just start out and say thank you for your service, Denny. Seriously, when I hear about your Afghan service, I seriously do thank you for that. I guess the term's blue blood. I wasn't raised with blue blood either. I'm from the north side. I'm a river roader. My parents were middle class, had to work when I turned 16 so I could buy a car, had to work to go to college. Wasn't going to get to go to college. I had 2 older brothers in college, except to go to Amarillo College, except for I judged livestock, and I got some incredible scholarships to judge livestock at Texas Tech, and that paid my tuition. So I got to go to Texas Tech and be a Red Raider. So I've been around a lot of people. I've been around a lot of people of different socioeconomic and race background. And you just treat people the way God told you. He said, treat everybody the way you want to treat them, the golden rule. And so that's what I do in the court. I cannot believe that someone would suggest that a judge in Potter County or Randall County would treat someone differently because of their background or because of the color of their skin. We have a good system, and I believe we hold each other accountable and we talk freely. There's 9 trial courts in Potter and Randall County with the district and the county courts at law. And I don't see that in our court system. I think they do have a problem in some larger places, but Amarillo is still, we all know each other. We see each other at the grocery store, at the little theater, we see each other at the gas station and at the courthouse. And I think we're doing a pretty good job.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Denny, next question. What factors are considered in granting and setting bail amounts for defendants?
That's a difficult question too, because Potter County, the way it works, if you get arrested on what's called an on-view offense, you go immediately to jail and then you see a magistrate the next day. Recently, the Texas Indigent Defense Commission, along with A&M, funded a special program where we assigned defense attorneys to consult with these people for the limited basis of assisting them with their bond. And I participated in that program. I think it was a great program because I was able to explain what was going on in that defendant's criminal case right then. I was able to explain the bond process, explain if they needed an attorney, how to get one. I was able to tell them to keep their mouth shut on the phone because indigent defendants' phone calls are recorded, unlike having to get a warrant for you or I's phone calls. And so I really believe that was helpful. That was a helpful system. And whenever I was helping with the indigent defense committee in setting up the public defender and the managed assigned counsel offices that they're currently hiring for, I insisted that that be included in there, that we still have an opportunity for a defendant who's been accused of a crime to talk to an attorney right away. What happens right after that is the magistrate, the justice of peace, sets the bond, and then the person is assigned or can go hire an attorney. There's another way that it happens. The DA's office sends a complaint or an indictment to the clerk's office, and they sometimes, in Potter County they do, in Randall County they most of the time don't. They include a bond recommendation in there for the judge to follow. And so whenever that person gets arrested, the magistrate doesn't really put a lot of thought into changing that. Most of the time they just set that bond, and then if the person's attorney wants to change it, they have to file a motion to reduce the bond later on when they're being represented.
Thank you.
Ask me the question again. Sorry.
What factors are considered in granting and setting bail amounts for defendants?
Thank you. District judges are rarely called upon to set the initial bond. Bonds are set either, as Mr. Denny explained, they're set on the arrest warrant, the DA's office or the county attorney's office asks for a particular bond, and it goes to the jail with that initial bond. The magistrates, the justices of the peace, then magistrate you after you're arrested. That's when they talk about magistration. Tell them you have a right to have a lawyer, one you hire, one that's court appointed, and set a bond for you in conditions. So the JPs see them first. We assign a court appointed attorney. They get in the jail within 24 hours. They have 48 hours to make contact with them. And their court appointed lawyer is to visit with them and say, can you make your bond? If you can't make your bond, let's talk about it. What are the factors in your case? Do you have ties to the community? Do you have a place to live? Do you have a job? Do you have people that would, because we want you to go home, have a job, have a place to live, and not walk out and be on the streets or take flight out of Amarillo. So the court-appointed attorney can file a bond reduction if the bond's too high to make, or if the conditions are such, you can't be with your kids, you can't be with children, and they want to take that off because they want to be with their biological children. So that becomes the defense attorney's job to file that. That's when they come before the district judges. We hear testimony from the defendant, from sometimes the police officers that are involved, sometimes rarely, once in a while, I hear a little something from the victim, how it would impact them if they were released. So generally it starts at magistration before it comes to us.
Thank you. Okay, we have another audience member question. Mr. Denny, what do you perceive as the greatest obstacles to justice? How would you navigate these obstacles in your courtroom?
Well, I think it was brought up earlier. The biggest obstacles to getting justice are access to the court. A great deal of cases are worked out between defendants and the state through their attorney. And so you end up before the court with a plea bargain where both sides, we think this is what a fair outcome is. The injustice, I think, is if that takes too long, if it's difficult to get your attorney through inaction or overloaded by other cases or whatever to contact the state, or if it's because the state is overloaded and not making offers. So I believe it's the court's duty to get all those people together. Whenever I was practicing in Lubbock, they had something called a plea negotiation docket. And it was where we got all the cases that appeared to be kind of stagnant and ready to do something all in one place. We had the prosecutor ordered to be there and ready to talk about their cases. We had the defendants show up and be ready to be explained by their lawyer what was going on. We had the defense attorneys there ready to talk about the case. And if we could work something out, we worked it out and got it set or pled it that day. If we didn't, we knew that that was the end of it and we put it on a trial docket. And then the problem there is you have to have the trial ready to go. You have to hold the prosecutor's feet to the fire. You have to put those cases on a docket. We call those a docket call. And then you have to actually be there to try the cases, and you have to hold people's feet to the fire. Justice is something that everybody clamors for and says they want, but whenever it comes down to trial, a lot of people do a lot of backpedaling. And a judge's job is to hold those people's feet to the fire and say, today is your day for justice, whether you like it or not, and let the jury decide what they want to do.
Thank you.
You've heard it before. It's access to justice. Part of the problem, Amarillo does have a problem. We don't have enough attorneys. They have aged out and died on us. When I moved here in 1989, there were 40 defense lawyers wandering the streets. So you saw them in the courthouse every day, and we just don't have that. For first and second degree felonies, the ones where you could be sentenced to 20 years or life in prison, we have 12 to 15 lawyers that bounce on and off the list. That's not enough to do our serious crimes. So Potter County and Armstrong County went in and created this new public defender's office that they kicked off, and they're trying to bring in 5 new faces into Amarillo, to hire some people into Amarillo that are going to start taking these cases. The second thing is they're going to do a managed, court-appointed attorney program, so that there is an attorney that has the contact. Instead of an inmate writing me going, I haven't heard from my lawyer, we'll pass that letter on, and that new person in charge of that program is going to call Attorney Bob and say, Bob, you need to be talking to your lawyer. So it's we don't have the numbers of prosecutors and defense attorneys. We have in our prosecutor's office, I know the county attorney office has 1 empty position, and the DA has 3. So those resources, the state is resources. So it's interesting. We have lawyers in the law firms, but we don't have lawyers that are doing what we call the street work. So I think that's very important. Another thing is we need to get our defense attorneys more in contact with their clients that are incarcerated. And we're going to do that through tablets at the jail. And we still have not gotten that done. That was starting right before COVID, and it kind of hit the low. And so that a defendant in jail can talk to his lawyer who's in his office, and they can talk more frequently. And I think that would be very advantageous to get that out. We are using the plea negotiation conferences, and it's moving cases in our court. Again, it's getting the defense attorney, the state's attorney, and the defendant in the same room.
Okay, this will be our last question, and this is an audience member question. Mr. Denny, what changes would you make to the 320th docket calendar if elected?
Well, I would make sure that every setting that I sent out was intentional, that it had a purpose and it didn't replicate something that we've already done. I found that in several courts in the area, I've been required to appear for docket calls over and over and over. And on many occasions, I copy and paste the last response that I gave at the last docket call. It's the same thing. Some courts require us to show up for cattle calls in person. Fortunately, COVID has put a stop to much of that, but they do still happen. Everyone's time is valuable, not only the attorneys, the courts, but the defendants as well, because you have to remember these people have not been convicted of anything. They're still not guilty until they've gone through their day in court. And so I would respect their time. I would make sure that we didn't have meaningless settings that were repetitive and you have to make the same announcement at the same setting over and over. I would make sure that if we make you and your client show up to a setting, that it is meaningful and purposeful and that we are not wasting anyone's time. One of the things you have to remember is if I've asked for, as a judge, if I asked for the defendants to be brought from the jail, we have a lot of resources tied up in that. We have a van, we have holding cells in the jail, and many of you haven't had the opportunity to be back there, but I'll tell you, there's only 3. There's only 3 back there. And if you bring a female in, there's only 2 because you can't house them together. And those people have to be brought in on a van, and they have to be supervised by the officers. They have to be searched every time they come in and out of the jail. And so anytime that you have a hearing like that and are tying up that space, you're also tying up space for other district courts. So I would make sure that anytime I ask people to come to my court, that it was meaningful and I was not wasting their time.
Thank you.
In the 320th, we started using the plea negotiation conferences when we started in 2019, kind of got to go in 2019, stopped 2020 for COVID, and that was on Zoom, and then we're back about April of 2021, we started again. And what we do is we do them alphabetically. So we have divided the alphabet of the lawyer's last name by 4, and so you get a group of them, A through H on one month, I through J in the next month, so they're not coming every month. We want that lawyer and their clients to come every 4 months. Then we have the you asked for it date, PNC. So you came in on your alphabet name date and you said, Judge, we're not able to work this today. We need to look into something. Can we come next month? When they get on that docket, I want to start calling it the you asked for this date docket, because it was. I didn't set them to come back because I thought of it. It's because they said, if you'll have me come back in 30, 60 days, I think we can resolve it. We do have people transported from the jail, the district courts, because there's only 5 of us, and we work it out. We talk about who's bringing somebody in, and so we don't top each other's days of bringing people in. So we have full access to the 3 jails that are cells in the back. And people, they need to see their attorney. They need to see their attorney, not just talk to them on the phone. And so when we bring those guys from the jail, we make sure the lawyers go back in the hole and talk to them. And that gets stuff going in cases. And so we do require that. But that's generally been working very well in our court.
Thank you. Mr. Denny, this time you have 1 minute for your closing remark.
I'd like to say I'm very proud to hear that most of the issues that were being addressed today, I was preemptively part of the solution to those. I saw that the county was considering an indigent defense plan, and I inserted myself into that and then was nominated to be on the committee. The plan that was eventually submitted to approval for the grant funding, I had a hand in it. I can show you the parts in there that I helped write. And so I'm proud of that. The result of getting more people on the list, I was part of that. We had some attorneys' fees being cut, and I led a revolt of some of the defense attorneys that said, you can't cut our bills like this anymore. We're working hard for you. We're doing a good job for these defendants, and it's not right to not pay us what you said you would. Because of that, because of those efforts, we were able to negotiate with the Board of Judges, and they gave us a very fair payment plan that we're able to submit now. And I believe through that, we'll get a lot more lawyers back on the list.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm asked to be reelected to this court because I believe that I'm doing a good job and my staff's doing a good job. And we have a clean docket and we work through our cases. And I think that we should be able to continue to do that. Yes, we have a problem getting judges in. And yes, the Council of Judges has met over and over again. How can we help this problem? How can we get attorneys in here? How can we get these cases moving? It really is a council of judges in each of the counties. We talk to each other. We work with our problems. We work with getting sure that we get our lawyers in, and they're responsible to all the courts, not just our court. So I thank you for your time today, and I appreciate your vote on March 1st.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
At this time, for part-time judges, Edward Heath and Judge Tanner. All right, we'll start with Mr. Heath. 1 minute to introduce yourself, please.
Thank you. I'm Ed Heath. I'm running for Potter County Judge in the March 1st primary against my opponent here. And I have lived in Potter County for 34 years. I've lived in the same house for 29 years. I am a pro-life, pro-family Christian, and I am a conservative Republican. And so I have worked for Pantex most of my career. The last 20 years was out there. And I also left prematurely because of the vaccine mandate. I did not like my medical decisions being made for me by the government or the company that I was working for.
Good afternoon. I'm Nancy Tanner. I'm the current Potter County judge and in my second term as county judge, but I have 32 years total experience with the county. I worked for the previous county judge 20, which is where I got most of my experience and knowledge. And I'm a lifelong resident of Amarillo, born and raised here. On the east side, I went to Lawndale and Bowie and Caprock High School. And I'm proud of that. I will always be proud of that. My parents took us to church every day, every Sunday, and I'm a member of South Georgia Baptist Church currently.
Thank you. Okay, first question, Mr. Heath, why should voters support you rather than your opponent?
I think the biggest thing is it's time for a change. We've seen a lot of negative things happening within the county in regards to budgets, debt, things of that nature. And what I plan on doing is bringing in a sense of fiscal conservatism to how the county is run.
Question right now, Tom?
Why should voters support you rather than your opponent?
32 years experience, just say it all. My opponent thinks that I've raised taxes quite a bit. I have not. As a matter of fact, taxes have raised in the last 7 years. It's not that I've done the budget by only a little bit less than $10 a year for a $100,000 home. Obviously a little bit less for some and some a little bit more for others. But the experience that I have and the knowledge and the compassion that I have for the job I do is a reason to keep me in the office. Thank you.
Okay, our next question is from audience member, Mr. Chuck Williams, and this question is for Mr. Heath. What does pro-life have to do with it?
I think it has to do with the character of the person that's running for the office. I think it tells you a little bit about their background. As an example, my wife and I, my late wife, she and I worked with CareNet Crisis Pregnancy Center for many years. She was a volunteer and on staff, and I also assisted. My wife also was involved. Whenever you're in a ministry, it's a partnership with your wife or your husband, whichever it may be. And we worked really hard in regards to ensuring that abortion was not something that was taken lightly, and that there's assistance out there for the people that did. So I think it's just character.
Thank you.
Is that just for him or for me?
So would you like to add on to
I
that?
don't think that
Okay.
pro-life has anything to do with my job, but
Okay.
I am pro-life. If that means anything to anybody, I am pro-life. And I mean, being a Christian should say that. So that's all I have to say.
Okay.
Mr. Martinez, excuse me, I think we're having some difficulty hearing, so we'd ask our candidates to speak up
Oh,
a
okay.
little bit.
Sorry.
It's more than just to,
Okay.
so just
Okay.
project and put it out there. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Okay, next question, Mr. Heath. As the presiding officer of the Commissioners Court, how will you ensure county constables receive equitable resources to fulfill their vast roles as county law enforcement officers?
Well, actually, that's a good question, because the primary responsibility of the county judge in a county our size is dealing with the budget. And so one of the things that I plan on implementing when I get elected is to get rid of the baseline budget, where we carry forward the budgets from last year and they spend the money as much as they can so that they ensure that they have the money the next year. And we go to a zero-based budget where they have to justify every dollar that they have to ask for and before they get it. And so if they need the money, it'll be allocated in their budget.
Okay. I am in charge of the budget. Commissioners Court it's not just me. Commissioners Court votes on the budget. Commissioners Court. So I will say this, that the constables have an adequate budget and they have adequate salary right now for what they do. And I've never seen them come to court and ask for anything that they haven't gotten. So that's our responsibility, and we do it the best we can. And we have to do it for 26 different departments and elected officials. So we pretty much get it done for them.
Okay, thank you. Our next question, Mr. Heath, as an emergency management director in times of peril, and we are still in a pandemic, how will you prioritize public safety over political expediency?
I don't know how there could ever be any question in regards to that. Public safety is number one. So I would always prioritize that over any political decisions that may come across my desk.
Okay, there is, in my opinion, there is a difference with that, but obviously, public safety is very, very important for everybody, not just the employees of Potter County, not just the people who live here, it's for everyone. But I will tell you this, that when the governor sends down an order that when the percentage of hospital rates go up to 27%, you have to shut everything down. That's what I had to do. I don't go against what the governor says because that's my job. I have to do what he says. And so it's a priority, obviously, for public safety, but public safety involves the county and county employees as well.
Thank you. Next question. In 2019, the Sixth Amendment Center published a report alleging 74% of defendants facing misdemeanor charges in Potter County pled guilty without ever speaking to their attorneys. What steps has the county government taken to ensure defendants receive their constitutionally protected right to counsel, and what more needs to be done?
Well, I was not involved in that process, but as I understand it, the new program that was created within Potter County for indigent defense is in place. So I think that's what the county has done in response to that.
I was on the committee to do this, and I'll tell you, it took a long, long time to get something done. I think the district judges will agree with that. It was a process. It needed to be done, and it needed to be done a long time ago. But I went out to the jail, the county jail, to speak to some people, some women who've gone through a program on how to better themselves. And 7 of them, or 6 or 7 of them, not one of them had seen their lawyer, and they've been there for over a year. So it's a problem, and we're working on it, and we finally got the public defender's office, and it will be up and running within 6 or 7 months. I'm proud of that.
Thank you. Mr. Heath, what experience do you have in emergency management?
Well, for 20 years, I worked within IT and cybersecurity within the operation of Pantex under the National Nuclear Security Administration. And one of the things that we always did was prepare for continuance of operations. And you plan and you do desktop exercises, and you have real world exercises that you prepare yourself for those eventualities. And the biggest problem that I see in a lot of organizations is that they don't do the preparatory work. They don't plan. They don't look and see at what it's like to go through an exercise of that nature where their systems go down. They get hacked. They lose a fire station due to some environmental condition, whether it be a tornado or flood or anything like that. And those are the things that we need to do as an organization.
I am actually that's one of my duties is emergency management. And we have exercises every year that we go out and have an imaginary catastrophe that happens. And every organization that gets involved shows up for this preparatory action. And we sit down and go through every process of what needs to be done and how it needs to be done. And so I'm on that. So I'm in it up to my neck. So I know exactly what has to happen.
Thank you. Our next question is a question for an audience member. Mr. Heath, if public safety is number one, will you encourage the COVID vaccine? Encourage people to take the vaccine that haven't already.
Okay. The deal with the COVID vaccine is just based upon an individual's right to choose what's medically necessary for them. And if that person feels, based upon, the knowledge that they've gained by researching the vaccine, then I'm all for it. Let them take the vaccine. But I do not feel in any circumstance that the government should mandate, or a company should mandate, vaccines upon people.
I agree with that. I did take the vaccine myself, both of them, and the booster. I did get COVID for Christmas. Merry Christmas to me, but I survived it, and I'm thinking it was probably because I took the vaccine. I would never, ever mandate it to say that you have to or you can't work here. I don't think that's right. And I would never, ever do that. So it's up to, it's a personal choice. It's a personal consequence, whatever happens to you after that if you don't. So it's up to the individual. I would never mandate something like that.
Thank you. Our next question is another audience member question. After the recent census, we at Potter County lost residents. What will you both do to encourage growth and participation?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that we need to reduce the cost of operating our county. We need to keep reducing tax rates, not increasing. We have seen, while we may have seen a loss in population, we have seen an extreme increase in the valuation of the property. I can't see why there would be any corresponding increase in taxes with the increase in valuation we've had, unless we're spending money that we shouldn't spend.
Okay, you keep going back to the money for the taxes. It's not about the taxes. People are moving. Randall County gained 7,000 people. We lost 3,000. We have growth in our county right now. We have to go out to the Loop and drive around Centerport, Amazon. We have really good growth in our county right now. We have a lot of houses going up in Bushland. We have like 1,000 houses in Bushland. We have 140 houses going up in the North Heights area. So I know the growth is there. It is a public choice, wherever you want to live, wherever you choose to live is up to you. It's nothing to do with how much taxes are. Randall County has a tax base larger than us because they have more money. We have a lot more poor people in Potter County. That's just the way it is. And it's always going to be that way. So it has nothing to do with that. And what I will do is continue to urge people and give them the opportunity to come to Potter County. It's big, it's wide, it's open. So come on and build your houses here, build your business here. Just drive out on the Loop and look at all the new businesses. It's coming.
Thank you. Okay, our next question, Mr. Heath. We feel very confident about the integrity of our elections. How do you educate people on the quality of our elections in Potter County?
Can you repeat that? We do, you said?
So we feel very confident about the integrity of our elections. They are local elections. How do you educate people on the quality of our elections in our county?
Well, the people that I'm talking to are not saying the same thing. The people that I've been talking to, and I've been going out and meeting as many people as I can and trying to get their opinions on what they think is important within the county. And one of the things they're talking about is they feel like their vote doesn't count. Now, the issue could be integrity of the election. The issue could be they don't think that their elected officials are listening to them. And sometimes it's just an overall voter apathy. And I think that what we need to do is we need to show the voters that we care and that we're doing things proactively to ensure that our election systems are secure, to ensure that we're doing a good job for them as their elected officials, and promoting our county without giving away our tax base.
Again, I've had 32 years experience with the county, 8 years with the county judge. I have never heard one person say anything to me that the elections are rigged, that they think there's cheating. I've never heard not one complaint. And I talk to a lot of people. A lot of people come in and talk to me. I've never heard one person say it. So I am totally confident that the election is good and honest. And I don't believe that people can cheat going to the ballot and pushing a button. just like Judge Sermon said, we have a better thing coming up in mid-year, and where you can have several ways to make sure that you are to account. And I'm looking forward to that, just to make sure that people don't have a reason to come back to say that somebody cheated. So I think that the integrity is good.
This will be our last question. This is from audience member, Mr. Heath. Encouraging growth also means encouraging business. Where do you stand on business growth in the county?
I think we should always do things to encourage businesses, but you can't do it by giving away all of the tax burden that they may have. It doesn't do any good to bring in a new business that doesn't pay hardly anything in taxes, and then the employment is not coming in. We're not getting new employees. All we're doing is shifting employees from one employer to another because they pay $1.50 more per hour. And so we need to ensure that there's a fair wage out there. We need to ensure that there are businesses that are coming in that are going to pay their fair share of taxes.
Mr. Heath is referring to tax abatements. We do tax abatements a lot in Potter County. It is a good thing. People come in with a new business and they are asking for a 10-year tax abatement, which means they still pay the taxes, the current taxes on that property, but their new business is coming, which means new people are coming to the county, new housing, everybody's going to pay their personal tax. So no, it's a good thing. I would always strive to do tax abatements because it means new business and new opportunities for the people of the town.
Mayor, point of order. My name was mentioned. I should
It's 30 seconds. Yes, sir.
Thank you. That's not what we're hearing. What we're hearing is we're bringing in new companies and there are not new people coming into the county. So that's what we're seeing. That's what we're hearing. So I think we need to look at the numbers, look at the data and see. If we are generating new employees into the county, I'll agree with it. But beyond that, no, I don't see it. The people that I talk to don't see it. And I think that the abatements are not paying off.
May I respond to that?
We got to move on.
Okay.
Okay. 1 minute closing remark, Mr. Heath, will start with you.
Thank you. I think the thing that I want to point out is that it's easy to say that we're not paying more in taxes or we're paying just very little in taxes. But the thing that you need to look at, it's a public record. Go out and look at the county's annual reports for the last 8 to 10 years, before my opponent coming into office and afterwards. Our debt has gone up 1,072% for the county. The costs associated with running the county have gone up 28.5%, while inflation or the cost of goods in the nation has only gone up 17.7%. One of the things you also need to look at is how that debt occurred. Did you get to vote as a taxpayer on that debt? The county assumed the debt on your behalf without any approval from you. So if you're happy with it, that's fine. Otherwise, vote for Ed Heath.
Thank you, sir. Judge Tanner.
Okay, I'm not going to respond to that because there's not enough time in the day. So I have been there I've been there 8 years as county judge. It's not about the title. It's not about the salary. It's not about the prestige of everyone knowing who I am when I go out with my family. It's about what I get to do as county judge to help the people, whether it's a probate case, guardianship case, a mental health case, cremation case. When you come to my office, there's nothing fun about it. Everybody that comes to my office has a problem. And it is my obligation and my honor to sit at my desk and help them the best way I can. And that's what I do. And I want to continue to do it. Thank you so much.
Thank you both. Appreciate it. At this time, Potter County Commissioner Precinct 2, Mr. Robert Reeves, and Mr. Blair Schaefer. Mr. Schaefer cannot be here. His wife is here for him in attendance. Blanca, thank you. start with Mr. Schaefer. You have 1 minute to introduce your husband.
Thank you, everybody, for having me here today. I am sitting in place of my husband, Blair Schaefer. He is on duty today. Blair is Amarillo native, born and raised here. Attended school at Hamlet, Horseman in Polidoro. That's where we met. And he just has a service for his town, his businesses, his community. We live on the east side right now by Caprock, but we're always inside of our community, wanting to serve not just other businesses, but each other.
Thank you. Mr. Ruiz?
My name is Robert Ruiz. Been married for 39 years to my wonderful wife, Veronica. Thank God for giving me the opportunity to sit up here. I was raised in the barrio neighborhood of Precinct 2. I've lived in the precinct for over 45 years. I have a heart for people. I have a heart for my barrio, for the community, and I just love people and I love serving them.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start off. First question. Why should voters support your husband rather than his opponent?
My husband, Blair Schaefer, after graduating from Polidoro High School, went into the U.S. Navy. After that, he served 12 years into the TDCJ community and successfully completed his career there and in service with the Amarillo Fire Department. We have 4 local businesses in Amarillo that Blair sat and planned out for us to do for the rest of our lives. And he's well versed with budget, with income, how we can bring business to Potter County, because 3 of those businesses are in Potter County. We pay Potter County taxes, we pay our leases and rents, and overall his service and heart for the community.
Mr. Ruiz?
Yes, I feel like I'm the best candidate for this. Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Why should voters support you rather than your opponent?
So I'm the best candidate. I feel like I've been serving my community for so many years. I've stressed the importance of being a mentor to our young community kids. I've also established programs for in our neighborhood to advance kids to educate themselves to a better level. I just feel confident, you know. I'm a natural born leader. I've been a leader. I work as a bailiff at the municipal court. I serve people. I love serving the people. I love handling, conversations. I just feel like I'm the best candidate for this position.
Thank you, sir. Okay, our next question. What needs to happen to ensure greater economic development in Potter County Precinct 2?
Thank you. Actually, we need to encourage our community to build businesses, talk to our neighbors, talk to our businesses, and ask them, what would it take for you to come over to Potter County or even develop a business program or a business idea that we can put in place here for Potter County to encourage growth, for additional money, for additional businesses to be had here, not just for Precinct 2, but for Amarillo. We all affect each other, Precinct 4, Amarillo, and Randall County.
So I think revitalization is key here. We have to know that the city has funding for revitalization, and to invest in our communities, we just need to know how to be able to give them the resources. These committees, they come from all over. I mean, if they can just help and build our community, that's going to be great. New businesses, it's always, they've mentioned the tax abatement and all the jobs that are coming in. That's a great program. I think it's going to bring more businesses. We just need to revive the community, get them back to work, and we just need to have strong after-school programs for the working families, strong programs for the seniors, and I think we can move ahead on that.
Thank you. Okay, our next question. What part of the county budget do you believe the Commissioners Court should prioritize? And what concerns have you heard from taxpayers regarding the current budget?
I know with my husband, as he has attended a lot of the court, Commissioner's Court, it's the growth for Amarillo, it's the growth for Precinct 2. Spending a little bit of money to grow our area will encourage people to come here, do business in Precinct 2, bring maybe a wider, bigger audience than what we have. Of course, Blair has extensive experience in budgets. He oversees 4 different businesses, and what we do is bring in people from all over. So what we can do is to show and encourage folks that here is our tax, here is our reports. Let's do something together so that we can build and grow the community together.
Mr. Ruiz?
I think just being a part of community involvement, I've been the board of directors at a community center it's over $1 million budget. We get grants and we allocate money throughout the entire community. So we've also invested in a new program in south of Amarillo. So I understand the budget. A lot of this is if you work well and just build a gap between you and your constituents and just know that where your money and the county money is going, I think we can come close to making good sound decisions.
Sir? Your next question is from an audience member. Schaefer, will you or your husband be pushing for education to be placed at the top of the priority list?
Absolutely. Blair is an educator. He loves to teach and show not just our families, but the community, our customers that come into our businesses. We have programs where we actually encourage entrepreneurship, money management. We encourage the youth to come in and learn, not just at a special level, but at any level. We have a lot of at-risk youth that come into our shops and they ask questions. So that's where it's going to begin.
Thank you.
Being involved with the community for over 29 years, I've come across many young students. We've always had 3 core values. It's education first, and stay prayed up, and their health. A lot of these students have gone on to graduate and become, community leaders. But we also have programs that are Los Barrios de Amarillo. I had to mention that because that's one of our, that's a big program where they hand out scholarships to graduating students. The North Side, I'm involved with the golf club, their organization. They raise money for scholarships. So it's very important to reach out to those kids and mentor them in the right direction so they can become leaders. As you know, leaders become great people for our community, and that's what we need is leaders.
Thank you, sir. Good. Okay, our next question. Ms. Schaefer, what changes do you feel need to happen in Precinct 2?
Changes our communication, working regardless of our differences, and really partnering up together to make the community better. It's good now, but we can always be improving just 2%, 1% better every single day. And that starts with us showing our children's children for generations to come. I know that Blair speaks this daily, all the time. We are affected by it by our children, our grandchildren, and our families. Not just that, but the community. So I believe that it's just, we've got to partner together to make the change together.
Mr. Ruiz?
Yes, I think it's important to reach out to our neighbors and always ask, what do you need? Can we help you with this? This summer, my grandson and I decided to just reach around the neighborhood with some older folks to help them keep their lawns mowed, keep their yards clean, and just make errands for them. I think that's important for us just to communicate with our community. Just know that we are there to help. If we can get more people involved to just to help maybe clean up an alley in our yard, in our area, we need to stick together. We need to come together as a group and we need help. Everybody needs to pitch in. We have so much work on our plate. There's a lot of things that are happening in our precinct. And I'd like to see everybody just get involved with improving the lives of all of our community.
Okay, this is an audio question. Would you be willing to reach out to other offices that you oversee to ensure that their needs are met?
Reach out to other offices that their needs are met.
This was an audience member question.
Okay. I think just with Blair, you can just come into our shop and ask. The thing about that is that, do you know what you want? And specifically, so if there's a problem, make sure that you can come into a solution with a solution as well. That's how Blair works. He will hear you and he'll understand that you have concerns, but he also wants you to have a solution so that how we can partner up to fix it together. So that's what we can do.
Mr. Glover, was that question also directed at?
It wasn't directed at in particular.
Okay. So, Mr.
Can you
Reeves,
repeat that question, please?
would you be willing to reach out to other offices that you oversee or I'm assuming work with to ensure that their needs are met?
I think it's important that we communicate with other office department heads, because if they have a concern, they reach out to us. I think it's important to have that relationship, and it's important to have the relationship with your public. If they have concerns, and you have to be the voice for your precinct in order to talk to department heads if they're having issues in certain parts of the county. We have to be able to just bridge the gap and communicate well with all the department heads and all the people in our community.
Thank you. Okay, our next question. How do you encourage residents of precinct 2 to get out and vote?
That's good question. Social media, we talk to everybody every single day. Our point of contact is, at your grocery store. It's at the local convenience store. It's anywhere that you are at. Social media right now, a lot of folks don't like it. We like it. It's about educating to why to vote. It's not just because you're for this or that. It's because this is your right. This is what you are. So we like to encourage person to person. That's what Blair loves to do. He also likes to work on social media and encourage to vote and learn how to vote and how to talk to your candidate.
And I think that's important. Me, myself, I'm not a social media person that throws everything I understand it. It's a good tool to use, but usually like you're out and about, people come in contact with you. I think it's important just to share that information. Hey, know that, hey, election's coming up. I hope you're registered to vote. I've always educated my family to always vote, and they're registered voters. So there's not a day that I don't always point the finger at them and say, hey, did you go vote? Oh gosh, I forgot. So yeah, I think that's very important. Everybody I come in contact with, it's number one priority. Now that I'm in office, I think that's important. If you don't voice your opinion, you don't vote, then you can't say nothing about the things that are happening in the communities. I think it's important to voice your opinion, but you have to vote. You have to register to vote.
Thank you. Schaefer, 1 minute closing remark.
All right. If Blair was here, he would tell you, get out and vote. No, but really, I want to thank all of y'all for the opportunity and the lessons that all of you have taught me and taught Blair and I. We are new. This is our first time running. I say us, our first time, because as a supportive wife, I'm there in the trenches with him. And I think that's important to have, regardless of what our outcome is. I want to say thank you again, and we look forward to what's coming up.
Thank you, Ms. Schaefer. I know it's tough being up here, but I also think that it's important for to know who your candidates are and what they've represented in your precinct. I like the idea that we are out there and about and we're sharing the same thoughts and we're out there shaking hands. We all have a mission. We have to encourage people to move out, move up, and get motivated to be part of your community. You have to be proud of your community. So you have to move. A lot of the people I talk to, I motivate them. I said, God, you have got to make your move. You got to move up. If it's not within the coaching programs or just being a mentor to somebody or just helping unload a trailer full of food, and you've got to be out there. You've got to be helping. That's the only way you're gonna get voted.
Thank you both for being here. At this time, candidates from Potter County Commissioner Precinct 4, make your way. Okay, we'll begin with Pastor Warren Coble. If you'll give us a 1-minute opening introduction.
Really appreciate you letting me come today to speak my piece. My name is Warren Coble. Was raised here in Amarillo. Went to North Heights School, Hilltop School, Carver, then Palo Duro. I went to X-ray school at Amarillo College, and while I was X-raying, a lady died. So I changed from X-ray to theology. And I met more dead people in theology than I, but anyway, as a pastor. I've started out working for IBM when I was a young man, went to work for Diamond Shamrock, worked for Phillips 66, became a deputy sheriff, actually right here in Amarillo, served there about 5 years, became a bailiff for Gerald Dowell in the 108th. After that, I went back to work in the oil and gas field, chemicals at Phillips 66 in Boulder. I pastored 30 years here, and I thank you for allowing me to be here.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Melody Graves.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Melody Graves, and I'm currently running for Potter County Commissioner Precinct 4. I believe that I am definitely qualified for this position. My education includes graduating from Amarillo College with an associate's degree in business, transferring on to West Texas A&M University to get my bachelor's and my master's in speech communication. Since I returned to Amarillo, I have been an activist for the North Heights community, making sure that they have a voice, because to me, that is the most important way to be a part of the change that you seek.
Thank you. Mr. Gaswood. Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Timothy Gasaway. And this is a short amount of time to give a lot of information. So I'm going to just kind of dive in. I'm a native of Amarillo. I left in the 80s after I finished Amarillo College. Had a very long career at Texas Instruments and other large Fortune 100, 500 companies. I traveled extensively over the world, probably at least 8 different continents. Since I've been back in Amarillo, I've created 2 new organizations, one being the Amarillo Area Black Chamber of Commerce, and the second being the Greater North Heights Neighborhood Association. I come to this with a little different approach. I'm a trained problem solver, and I use my skills wherever I go. It's a part of who I am. I will use them as a county commissioner here at Precinct 4. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, first question, Pastor Coble. What needs to happen to ensure greater economic development in Potter County Precinct 4?
First of all, I think that the entire county needs to be looked at the same. Too often it seems that the county is, the commissioner's court is only pushing one way in the county and not getting the county as a whole. We need jobs in Amarillo, in precinct 4. We need jobs, we need businesses, we need housing. And when those things come and that we treat people as people, not as a North Sider or South Sider, but when we treat people as people, then things will fall into place and it will be done correctly.
Thank you. Grace?
Could you repeat the question?
What needs to happen to ensure greater economic development in Potter County Precinct 4?
I think there are two main things that we could do to ensure that growth. I think education of the citizens in precinct 4 is extremely important. Educating them about owning a business and owning a home and teaching them about generational wealth and how that can benefit not only them, but also their children and generations to come. Education has always been the foundation of our society. And at this point, we definitely need education in these areas on how we continue to develop. I also think that there needs to be conversations held with different businesses that are currently serving different parts of town and letting them know how rich the land is in North Heights and Precinct 4 and how their businesses could thrive if they were allowed the opportunity to place those businesses within the community. I believe that access and education are the things that will change our trajectory as a precinct.
Thank you. Mr. Gasser?
Yes. Like I said, I'm a problem solver. So I kind of go to the root of things. There are tiers. That's one of our solutions. You can also go county development precincts that you can create as a county. There's an improvement district that you can create as a county. There are tools available for county commissioners to use to make your county better. We just have to produce a different product than what we've been getting. I'm not saying that's negative on someone else. I am saying that I can do a better job because I'm willing to dig into it and get the right answers to make the right things happen. Precinct 4 has a lot of businesses today, small, medium-sized businesses. Yes, we want to bring in larger businesses, and those tools are out there as well. Amarillo Boulevard's quite underutilized. We were in contact with Mayor Harpo before Mayor Nelson came in about putting a tax reinvestment zone on the boulevard. I think we've got to get that back on the agenda and get these things done. And we will be fine, District 4. We just got to keep working the process and we'll get there quickly.
Sir? Okay, Pastor Coble, what part of the county budget do you believe the Commissioner's Court should prioritize? And what concerns have you heard from taxpayers regarding the current budget?
Let me start with the current budget. It just seems that there has been an open checkbook for the current budget. And I want to say $50 million, but I'm not quite sure on that, but it has been just building after building, spending after spending, and I'm a very conservative on spending. What was the first part of that question?
What part of the county budget do you believe the Commissioner's Court should prioritize?
I was talking with a guy from Randall County today, and it seems that our first responders, our firemen, and that part needs to have a little more security in their finances and their salaries. The other thing is that we need to have not so much the latest and greatest with our sheriff department and fire department, that those really need to be prime stuff. It needs to be the best that we could get at the time. So I think we need to look a little bit toward our safety part. I'm always involved in safety, part of our budget.
Griggs?
Okay, could you repeat the question, please?
Sure thing. What part of the county budget do you believe the commissioners court should prioritize? And what concerns have you heard from taxpayers regarding the current budget?
I think definitely one of the main things that we need to focus on is making sure that our justice system is taken care of. That means that making sure that our fire departments and our policemen are taken care of effectively, because we know that once we take care of them, that they will in turn take care of us. We also need to work on building those relations between the communities and these different entities to make sure that there's always an open line of communication, and make sure that the residents feel comfortable and safe going to these people who work in these professions to ask for help and to seek help. Currently, I'm helping the Amarillo Fire Department recruit new recruits for the fire program that they are starting. And that's what we have to do. We have to take these resources back into the community, and we have to present those resources to people in the community. And we have to let them know that this is an attainable thing for you. And if you decide on this option, it could really be life-changing. From the people in the community that I've heard, I know that we need to focus more on the criminal justice system. A lot of people are worried about that, and I hear about that a lot. I deal with a lot of younger people who have been victims of the criminal justice system, and they feel as if they were treated unfairly. And I believe that we have to get to those individuals before they are mistreated by the criminal justice system to deter them from that. And the only way to do that is by giving them other options and things that they're used to.
Thank you. Gaswood?
Yes, the 2021-22 budget has 75% of the budget goes to 3 areas, I believe. That being corrections and rehabilitation, the judicial system, public safety, and public service. With that much of the budget going to those 3 items, certainly that would be a place where I would step my foot into first. I'm not prepared to run down a budget and tell them that if this is a problem, that's a problem at this point in time. Because I would make those decisions once I'm actually in the office and was actually able to go and check out the departments and see what was actually going on myself. I can look through a budget and I could come up with items that I would believe might need to be cut, but that would be somewhat presumptuous on my part because I'm not in the inner workings of that county to be able to make that decision. Like I said, I make decisions based off data, and the data that I have today is just numbers that they're currently running at. The other 25% of the budget goes to, let's see, what do I have here? It goes to the rest. It goes to general administration, facilities and management, election administration. You got your roads and bridge, you got capital outlay, and you have health and human services. And that's all of those other areas also need attention. You can't tell me because I know from my own personal dealings with the county courts, they need some software upgrades. Currently, I know that the JP court, their data doesn't show up on the public system properly. So there's things, but we'll work on it all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this next question is for Mr. Gasaway. This is from an audience member. Since it seems everyone is talking consensus, what does it do to form another organization that will actually be a duplicate of the original organization should be doing, or in fact is doing?
I'm only making an assumption that we are speaking about the differences between the North Heights Advisory Association and the Greater North Heights Neighborhood Association. The difference is in the name. One's advisory, one is actually neighborhood. The neighborhood will focus solely on neighborhood. Advisory, they can do whatever they want to do, but neighborhood is neighborhood. So, and that was created out of a need that did not happen. If you go and look at all the other plans that were rolled through, I think East Ridge is in the process, the Barrio, we also had San Jacinto, at the end of their processes, they created a neighborhood association. They did not create a advisory association. So they're two different entities with two different sets of goals. And some of the goals can overlap, and there should be collaboration between the two, but it's two different organizations.
Ms. Graves, we'll give you an opportunity to, if you'd like, respond to his answer.
Definitely. I think that there's a lot of work to do in North Heights. And I know that there have been traditionally issues with us being united. And so in the beginning, when the other organization started, we wanted that organization to come together and work with North Heights because we understand that unity is the best way to get things done. And at the end of it, that did not happen. And we are still in talks to hopefully come together and come to the table. But what I want people to know is that they have a specific agenda and we have a specific agenda. And nobody's agenda is better or bigger than anyone else's. And nobody's agenda is not going to address problems. Our precinct has a lot of problems and we need to address all of those problems. And the fact that we have other organizations willing to come together and volunteer their time, I think that that's an excellent honor for people to want to do that.
Mr. Coble, you're free to respond to that if you wish.
I do not choose.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and move on with our next question. Pastor Coble, what do you feel is your primary duty as Precinct 4 Commissioner?
As a commissioner, once again, it's important that people are important. It's important that we talk with everyone. I believe my job is to talk with Precinct 1, 2, and 3, talk with the city, even talk with Randall County, because we have life problems. So as a commissioner, it's what a pastor does. A pastor doesn't do all the work. He brings people together that can do the work. And as a commissioner, that's what I would do, is work hard to bring people to a common place that we can work better. And the only way we can get it done is we can work better together. We must work together. We do not need superstars. We do not need people climbing to another level. We need to take care of the people of the county. Thank you.
So repeat the question, please.
What do you feel is your primary duty as Precinct 4 Commissioner?
I believe that my primary duty is to continue to be the voice of the people. Traditionally, I have been a voice for North Heights. And so if I were to step into this position, I would get to be the voice of the entire precinct. When you give people a voice, you empower them to believe in themselves. And that's what we have to do in this position. We have a lot of people who have been disenfranchised because they feel like they haven't been heard. They don't go and vote because they feel like it doesn't make a difference. And what we have to do, it becomes our job to make sure that their voice is heard and that they understand what that means, that they're empowered to get out and vote, and that they hold those elected officials accountable. And that's a process that they have to trust you in order to take them on. But once you get a relationship with them and you find out what makes them want to thrive and what makes them want to grow, and you really learn who they are, then they start to trust you. And then they'll go along that journey with you. And then you can guide them to the next level.
Thank you. Gessler?
Yes. As a commissioner, I think it's my duty to serve the citizens and the taxpayers of Potter County and do that as efficiently as possible. It's a real easy thing to do if you go about it the right way. I serve currently in a lot of capacities, and I will continue to serve in a lot of different capacities. I will continue to push Potter County, Amarillo, Texas, as long as I am here, which since I moved back, I guess I'm going to be here a while. There are so many opportunities for Precinct 4 to grow. We have lots of land, and we have developers that are out there that are willing, ready to develop that land. We've just got to get on the same page with the city, the county, the state, if we need to get that land developed and start planning those resources. It's not going to happen overnight, but we do have to get it planned out and get it where we can see the roadmap And that's one of my #1 priorities as a precinct 4 county commissioner.
Sir. Okay, Pastor Coble,
Yes, sir.
if elected, how would you remain transparent and communicate regularly with Hyde residents?
Say that again.
If elected, how would each candidate remain transparent? How would you remain transparent and communicate regularly with North Heights residents?
That's what I've always done. I'm an open book. I'm a door knocker. I'm a problem solver. Give your kids a ride to school. I'll give you a ride to the store. As a commissioner, what I would do is continue to do what I've always done. I was asked the other day, why would I vote for you? I don't see your name in lights. Why would I vote for you? So, well, ma'am, because I'm a trencher. I spend my time in the trenches. That's where the real work is done. And when people need something, I'm the go-to guy. Some of you don't know what Monk is. He's the series where this kind of weird detective is solving things. And just about the time when the movie is over, he says, that's the guy. But if Monk was in here today, he would point at me and say, that's the guy. Thank you.
Grace.
And again, could you repeat the question?
If elected, how would you remain transparent and communicate regularly with North Heights residents?
I think if elected, what I would do is maintain meetings within these different areas. I know that precinct 4 is a really big precinct, and I think it's important as commissioner that we get out to all of these different precincts and meet the people, but take the information that we're learning in commissioners' courts and at city council meetings to the community. Education, again, I keep saying that education is power. And if people know what's going on in their local government, then they can have a say in what's going on, and they feel more empowered to come forward and say things. But ultimately, again, I'll go back to this, it allows them to be accountable. The more you know, the more you can hold someone accountable for the promises that they've made. And that's what I want to do if elected to commissioner, is to empower the residents to hold people accountable through the information that would be had through these meetings that we would hold.
Thank you. Mr. Gassaway.
Yes, I would take more of a proactive approach as far as communicating with the precinct, town halls, and also you would want to use technology to the best of your ability. Email, we can send texts to phone, but people want information and they want it early. They don't want it as the event or as the vote is transpiring. They want to know what's going on before. So a lot of times that's the information you really want to make sure you get out to the people of the precinct. So they have time to give you feedback, to give you guidance. That's the important part. But you do have to communicate even after, coming to a meeting, that's good, but the after meeting report from the county commissioner is important as well. And I will guarantee you that I will communicate with the media, social media, whatever we need to do to get the information to the people that need to hear it. People in precinct 4, they're disconnected because they haven't been told how the processes work. I would be a county commissioner that will give you all of that information up front. I'm about educating the voters so they know what's going on at any given time. Thank you.
Sir. Our next question is from an audience member. There is a lot of talk about what we ought to do, but tell us what credentials you have to represent precinct 4. Pastor Coleman.
As a pastor, I spent time working on budgets. I know the criminal justice system. I've seen the lawyers not show up. I've seen the lawyers, I've seen them not accept calls. So I know all about those things. Do the question one more time. Let me sure.
There's a lot of talk about what we ought to do in this precinct, but please tell us what your credentials you have to represent precinct 4.
Right. Also, I have worked with the budget, like on Hilltop Senior Citizens. I went into a place that was defunct, money missing. And from that working that budget, not spending what I didn't have, watching out for seniors, watching out for people. That's what I have. I have care, determination, doing the right thing about people. That's what I have to offer. I have nothing to hide. I'm just me, just an everyday raw guy that says, here I am, I'm at your service. My motto is a will and a way. I have the will to serve, and I will find a way to get things done. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Grace?
I think I can agree with the comment that came in, is that oftentimes we tell people what they ought to do. And we do names that make it where people will listen to us. So as for myself, again, I've already told you about my education. I've worked at Amarillo College in higher education for more than 11 years. I have advised all of the major programs at Amarillo College and can help students from entry all the way until graduation and transfer. In addition to that, I currently serve on 7 different nonprofit boards and also are part of 3 other organizations that work on giving back to the community. As a single parent, I maintain a full-time job, and I probably volunteer at least 1,000 hours in my community every single year. And so when people ask what I have to bring to the table, I have to bring to the table my ability to serve, my heart, and my voice, which is actually their voice. Because when I come to the table, I am coming to the table for those who I help every day.
Thank you. That's what.
Yes. Like I said, education, experience, drive. Said I've created 2 organizations here locally already. Like I said, I've traveled extensively. I've seen a lot, experienced a lot, and I have a lot to give. In my former life, I used to be a Scoutmaster of a Boy Scout troop. I have, to my credit, over 30 Eagle Scouts that were made Eagles through that process. So I've always given back. If I go back to my first days when I moved to Dallas from Amarillo, I was very involved in DISD, Dallas Independent School District, volunteering. That's kind of where I found my passion, giving back to kids. When I moved back to Amarillo, I also subbed here and gave back as much as I could. So I have a lot to give. I have lots to give. I have the time to give. I have the desire, and I have the knowledge. And like I was saying earlier before, I'm a trained problem solver. And you solve problems by getting to the root of the information. I won't go into too much detail because I'll put you to sleep, but there is a process to this. And if people employ these processes, you can find problems. You can find answers to problems very easily. So like I said, I look forward to working in Precinct 4. It is a big, diverse precinct, and there are a lot of voices that have not been heard that I will listen to. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, Pastor Coble, you have 1 minute to give a closing remark.
I will serve the people like I've always done. I started out as a young lad, believe it or not, cleaning restrooms at the church. My mom would take us there every Saturday. Even now at Hilltop Senior Citizens, I'm the director, but I have my day to clean the restrooms. I'm not above getting my hands dirty because I've always worked in the trenches. I think I'm the guy that's the voice for the people of Precinct 4 because I'm an everyday guy. I'm just an everyday guy. I've lived out in the county, but I've lived in the city also. So as Monk would say, he's the guy.
Thank you, sir.
I believe that I am the person for this position because my ability to love other people. At Amarillo College, we focus on loving people to success. And I've been able to take that message into the community and help people change their lives. And I want to continue to do that work. I want to be the one that people come to with their stories about what they're going through. And I want to be the one to guide them to get the help that they need. I want to be that listening ear that goes to the city council meetings and speaks for them because maybe they're scared to, or maybe they think no one's listening. I want to be the person that makes sure that people who have traditionally not had voices, not only do they have voices, but they have loud voices, and that they are not afraid to use those voices. I believe that I am the person for this position because I love my city. And I believe that if we are allowed to do what needs to be done in our county, we will create a better city. And we will create people who have value and people who want to change the world.
Thank you. Mr. Gasser.
Yes, let me get the question. one more time.
Oh, it's just, you have 1 minute to give a closing remark. Yes, sir.
No problem. Again, I'm going to reiterate, I'm a problem solver. Part of that problem solving is listening. I will listen to the constituents of precinct 4, no matter how old, how young, how rich, how poor. I want to listen to what those issues are, and we want to come up with solutions. Like I said, it is doable, but you have to put the work in. I'm willing to put the work in. I have the time, I have the desire. I am the guy to make that happen. Everybody in precinct 4 should have a safe community, a safe home to come to. And we can do that even from a county commissioner's perspective. It's not just all up to the city. It's about collaboration, and we will do all of those things when I become county commissioner of precinct 4.
Sir, candidates, we certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
You can go on.
Let me do
Okay, next up, Potter County Justice of the Peace Precinct 2, Mr. David DeLeon and Mr. Robert Taylor. You'll make your way up to the front. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started with Mr. DeLeon. You have the floor to introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is David DeLeon. I'm currently employed at the Potter County Sheriff's Office. I've earned my master license, employed there for 26 years now. I graduated from Panhandle Regional Law Enforcement Academy, attended West Texas State University. I'm in college. I'm married, I have 3 children, 3 grandchildren. And I'm here to represent Precinct 2 as a justice of the peace in its precinct.
Thank you.
I'm Robert Taylor. I'm the incumbent judge for Justice of the Peace Precinct 2. I've lived in the precinct for over 55 years. I grew up on the off of Northeast 22nd in Spring, went to Whittier, Travis, Polydora. Went into the military after graduation, met my wife in Germany, got married, came home, started at the police department, and I've worked 36 years, almost 36 years in law enforcement, local area. I have 4 children, one that works at Owens, one that works for Amarillo Pathology, one is a nurse practitioner for Dr. Medford, and then I have an attorney that works out of South Lake, Texas. All productive kids with 6 grandkids. One of them is a paramedic, and hopefully he doesn't come visit. But if he does, you're in good hands.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we'll start off with Mr. DeLeon. Why should voters support you rather than your opponent?
I've been working approximately 12 years at the courthouse as a court security, and I've developed a well-working knowledge, very good relationship with all the judges, JP judges, county judges. And I've learned a lot how the system works, the court system works. And I've also sat in as bailiffs of many courts, child support courts. And I've learned, like I said, a lot about cases. And I decided to run for Justice of the Peace Precinct 2 to give the community, the people, a fair and impartial, unbiased people's court.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor?
Again, I have a little over 3 years worth of experience as a sitting JP. We've handled numerous cases. That court handles criminal cases, debit claims, small claims, evictions, truancies, magistrations, inquests. And over that 3 years, plus the years of experience in law enforcement, has given me the ability to make sound decisions when it concerns the general public. Everything that we do, there's only one good thing that happens in the court system, and that's when you marry somebody. Because we're either, somebody's gonna pay a fine, somebody's gonna pay a debt claim, rule one way or the other on a small claim. You're losing your house or being asked to move. We have truancy kids that come in, and sometimes we order GEDs on them. We magistrate people, which is setting their bond amounts. We investigate death investigations, and I feel overall, with all the things that we've completed in that court, that I am the best candidate for that position. Thank you, sir.
Okay, as a fellow educator, I would like to know what actions are you taking in the community to help curb truancy?
Truancy.
Or will you be taking, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
What actions will you
I'm
be
not
taking?
too familiar with truancy at this point, because I just handle the court security and everything. But I'm always willing to learn that process. When I learn that process, I'll help, indeed, I will help in that area.
Mr. Taylor, what actions are you taking in the community to help curb truancy?
Well, as a truancy judge, there's several avenues that we can allow children to do. You can order that they take credit recovery, tutorials. These are things that you should be able to do without having to be in order. I know that the schools work with all the students that need assistance. The main thing that they're coming to a truancy court for is not that they're dumb or uneducated or something of that nature. They're coming because they're not going to school. And to get them to stay in school, which is state mandated, they can only miss 10 days. And then they're referred to the courts. They go through the county attorney's office. They meet certain standards and they're referred to the court. And so, we've handled since October over right at 300 that we've accepted cases on. About 200 of those we've ruled on. But that's the main thing, is to get them in school, get them educated so they're productive citizens when they leave school system.
Thank you. Mr. De Leon, how will you encourage, or how are you encouraging residents to get out and vote, residents of precinct 2?
Social media, Facebook, my word of mouth. I meet a lot of people everywhere, and encouraging them to vote. If they don't know how, I direct them to the Santa Fe building where they can pick up the card and register to vote. If they need help, some of those people don't speak English, and I help them in Spanish how to fill out the application.
We do media as well. I think the best way that you can get people to come out to vote is by actually knocking on the door, telling them what the process is, who's running, educate them on that, and get them to fill out that card. A lot of times you don't get an answer anymore with COVID stuff. People don't answer their door like they used to. But the TV and everything else is always talking about vote. Get your vote out. And I think that's a good process.
Thank you. This is an audience member question. Mr. De Leon, how will you work with the constable and commissioner of your precinct?
I believe in creating a working team between the commissioner, constable and myself, having good communication with each other, unification, working in the unity for the precinct 2.
Taylor? How do you work with the constable and commissioner of your precinct?
But I started out reasonably well with the constable. Somewhere along the line, we fell a little short. But the constable and the judgeship is different aspects of the criminal justice. There's things that the constable does. There's things that the justice of the peace does. It's nice to be able to have a communication with both parties. If that doesn't work out, I still have to continue on. I still have cases to go. I still have papers that need to be served. And I strive for excellence on both ways. And if those are not being met, then I will go to other resources to have that.
Thank you. Next question is audience member question. Mr. Taylor, why has there been so much clerk turnover in precinct 2? Is there a negative work environment?
There's not a negative work environment. I had one that left for a $10,000 increase, and I can't fault somebody for going where the bigger money is. We hired another clerk, and she got hired making $3,000 more than what our court does. I've talked to the judge about salary increases. It seems like when you're doing a good job at one place, everybody wants you. And I think I've lost 2 on that way. This is over a 3-year period. This has happened since October of last year. So we've hired 2 new clerks. One is Spanish speaking, and one is a criminal justice major out of Sam Houston. I think they're doing a great job to get caught up on our processes. And I look forward with them staying.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. De Leon, if elected, how would you create a positive work environment?
Number one, it's how you treat people. If you treat people fair, treat them as human beings, treat them like they belong there, get them trained, they'll never leave your office. That's what I believe. It's about working together and building a good office for the people that they deserve.
All right, so we'll come back to you. What changes do you feel need to happen in your precinct?
Changes. Restoring back the JP office that's functional, professional. Bringing back the constable back to the civil process. Bring her back to the bailiff. She can run the court as a bailiff. And having a good unity with the commissioner and everyone else.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor, what changes do you feel need to happen in your precinct?
Well, I ran the first time under the presence of somebody that wasn't there in the office, wasn't taking care of business. Some of the stuff was taken over to other JP courts and handled in that. When we took over the office, 6 months worth of paperwork, and we had to re-enter into the computer system because it wasn't done. It was a total mess. I didn't talk to him since, the previous JP. He said he wasn't cut for the job. I think we've improved everything that we had going. Working relationships are built. The past commissioner, Mercy, she left and went to Dallas. I thought I had a good working relationship with her. The new one, Robert Reese, I think we have a good relationship. I hadn't had any problems to bring to him. But I deal with the county judge and all the commissioners, the other JPs, usually on a daily basis. There's always a question that comes up that we'll toss around back and forth. So I think that inner group, and again, we do different things from one level to the other level, but we try to get the job done the best way that we can.
Thank you. Mr. DeLeon, what is your vision for the precinct? And how do you plan on accomplishing your vision?
My vision for the precinct is to rebuild it. Be involved with the community, give them fair courts, dispute their claims, be involved as an outreach community.
Mr. Taylor, what is your vision for your precinct?
Well, my vision is, if it's not broke, don't try to fix it. There are some areas that need improvement. Potter County, Potter and Randall is the #1 suicide place in the state of Texas. I sit on the suicide board, we meet monthly, discuss a lot of different things. Some of it's confidential. I've sat with the Barrio group, going out on area cleanups. I think getting involved and let them see in your face as just a regular member of the community goes a long way. And establish those communications, even with the, I sat on the bail bond board for about a year. And so we try to do things together that make our community a little bit better for each and every one of us.
Next question is directed at Mr. Taylor. This is from an audience member. If you have an able and willing constable who received Constable of the Year, why would you not utilize her services?
I don't like to get into bickering between two different offices. As I said before, the office requires paperwork to be done in certain ways at certain times. And if that's not being done, and you request that to be done properly, and somebody refuses to talk to you about that, then I will use the Sheriff's Department to serve those papers. I have a job to do. She has a job to do. Sheriff's Office has a job to do. And again, I want the best for the citizens of the community. So I'm not here to bash anybody.
Thank you. Mr. DeLeon.
Yes, sir.
If you are elected, how will you utilize the services of your constable?
Constable. A constable has her duties as a constable, and she's well trained, well educated in that position. She knows exactly what to do. I need her in my courtroom, serve my papers, civil process papers, and I need her as a bailiff. Because a courtroom cannot function if there's discrepancy in it. You gotta have well-balanced judge, constable, commissioner, and the community. You gotta have all involved in order to function as a proper and represent the proper community.
Thank you. This will be our last question, and this is from an audience member. Mr. DeLeon, as
Yes, sir.
Justice of the Peace, what can you do to educate the citizens to help keep them out of your courts?
To keep them out of the courts, you have to educate the people. Educate the people on the laws, like the laws of eviction. You have to build a relationship between the tenant and the landlord. If the tenant understands the law and the landlord, you have them less in your court. That's all solve that problem.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Taylor.
Most of the people that come to court, it's not there because the court has sent them something to come to court for. Most of those are done because they wrote a hot check, they got a traffic citation, they didn't pay their bills, small claims, things. Evictions, didn't pay their rent, or they violated their lease. We do have information at the office that is available to any citizen that wants to come to the office to get that, or we mail them a copy. So, you know, to keep people from coming to the court, you know, I wish I could do that. I'm sure, you know, the people that are running for other judges would be happy not to have people coming to the court to answer for violations that they've been charged with. And I don't foresee that happening anytime in the near future.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, you have a minute to give your closing remarks.
I just want to thank everybody first for being here. Thank you for your support. And I'm here to represent precinct 2 as a justice of the peace, to give me the fair, impartial, unbiased people's court. Thank you for your vote.
Over the last 3 years, 1,020 criminal cases, 637 debt claims, 114 small claims, 662 evictions, over 300 truancies, over 3,000 magistrations, over 400 death investigations. And experience, reputation, and performance matter. There's only one choice for JP2. That's Robert Taylor. I appreciate your vote.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.